Howdy, guys. Welcome to night 23 in the Big Brother All-Stars house. This is Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. Thursday night, Friday morning, we had an eviction last night. For those of you who may need a refresher on some of the things that happened during the show itself, and right after, Janelle was evicted by a vote of 9-2. Yes, indeed, the queen is gone. She was evicted. Danny and Enzo passed the votes to save Kazar, so kind of the rogue votes, the hinky votes, as you will. Just for your information, we've now had 3 straight women voted out of the house. We've also had 3 straight people voted out of the house who were America's favorite players. We only have 1 person left who was America's favorite player during their season. That's Tyler. So coincidence or not, the popular people seem like they've been getting voted out of the house. So we had that. At the very end of the episode, we had the beginnings of the HOH competition. Involved rolling 3 balls up a ramp, trying to land it in 3 separate holes at the top. You can see it here somewhere. That's the competition behind me. Two groups of 6, and then the top 3 from each competed against each other. For those of you who don't know yet and don't want to know, you probably shouldn't be listening to this live feed update anyway. But the winner, just to give you a little warning if you want to wait, but the winner of the HOH, Enzo, won the competition. So keeping that tally in mind, that gives us 10 competitions that have been held in this house so far, 9 of which have been won by the men. We need to see a power shift here before too long, guys. I'm ready to see some things shaking up a little bit. So we've got that. The other thing that happened this evening, we've got a new set of have-nots. Because Janelle was a have-not and was evicted, she did not get to pick another have-not. So it looks like we've just gone down to 3 have-nots instead of 4. Those 3 have-nots are Tyler and Day and Danny, who will be sleeping up in the have-not room and eating slop. All right, so a couple of quick conversations, a few conversations that we'll talk about over the evening. First of all, and the theme of the evening, I think, really is rogue votes and potential nominations. That's what the main conversations have been. People trying to feel around on who Enzo might be picking, trying to make some subtle suggestions that involve, he shouldn't put me up. He should put someone else up. So we'll talk about that. All right, first of all, conversation, Kevin and Davon. Davon's in the shower, so it's a little hard to hear, but Kevin was talking to her. Kevin's laughing because with the change in beds because of have-nots and such, Kevin is now sleeping in the bed in the photo room between Cody and Nicole Franzel. So he figures they're going to be upset that they can't sit there and talk game if he's laying in that bed. And he's probably right. Where are you sleeping? Bed choice is a huge part of Big Brother. I tried to keep that in mind last season when I was in there, and he's certainly going to disrupt some things. So hey, that'll be a little bit of an irritant for them. They also agree, kind of along the same theme. They're agreeing that Davon is a have-not is going to be nice because she can keep an eye on the HOH room this week and see who goes in, who goes out. That was a big deal in my season. When I was HOH, Tommy did that to me. At the end of my first night, he came in. He knew exactly who had come into my room, talked to me. He knew how long they had stayed there, who may have come in as partners and such, because he was outside watching. That's when I knew Tommy was a big threat in our season. So gotta be careful, but it is a good idea to keep track of who's going in and out of those HOH rooms and every other room. So there you go, little thoughts from me. All right, another conversation, Cody and Enzo talking. Cody is assuming that Danny is a rogue vote because last night or 2 nights ago, Danny had suggested just such a plan, and Cody kind of said, nah, I don't want to do it. But he assumes that she's a rogue vote, and he's worried that if she gets found out, that they're going to pin the other rogue vote on him and give him the blame, which he doesn't want. He's telling Enzo this. Enzo is upset, saying, I can't believe innocent people are getting blamed for this. We're throwing this on people who didn't do it and everything. Well, Enzo's the other rogue vote, but he's not telling Cody that. Cody tells Enzo that, yeah, Danny had this plan and everything, but Enzo's not saying a word that he's actually the one giving the vote. He does mention that he's heard some people are blaming Ian and Bailey for those hinky votes. So people kind of trying to figure out who may have done it. I don't think it's that big a deal, these votes. It shouldn't have as much impact as sometimes people think. But there you go. They're asking the questions. Enzo proceeds to tell Cody, says, Cody, this is going to be an easy week for you because I'm going to put up Kazar and a pawn. He doesn't say who. He said, I'm going to put up Kazar and a pawn, and if one of them comes off the block, then Ian's going up in that person's place. So you're good. You're fine. They do talk about the idea of backdooring one of the girls, and they don't specify, but I assume that could be like a Danny, for example. But they both agree it's too early in the process. We're only in week 4. We don't need to be doing it yet, later. So it sounds like Enzo, at least from what he's telling Cody, is going to take a pretty conservative plan, put Kaiser up, and who pawn's going to be? David, Kevin, we don't know, but I think he'll try to not offend anyone within his group and just play nice and safe this week. It's kind of Enzo's game so far, so that makes sense based on what we've seen so far. All right, another conversation, this one between Memphis and Kaiser. Memphis is telling Kaiser, say, man, just lay low, let the other guys in the house go crazy, lose their heads, take some of the profile off of you, or the target off of you. I think that's a great plan. I do agree that Kaiser needs to lay low a little bit. The problem is this. The nominations are typically, we don't know if there's some twist that we aren't aware of, but I assume the nominations are going to be like past seasons, which means they'll be sometime today, being Friday. So it's not enough for Kaiser to go under the radar. If he already is being targeted, then he's going to perhaps find himself on the block, regardless of whether he lays low or not this week. So we shall see what happens. All right, another conversation, Cody and Bailey. Again, they're discussing these rogue votes. They're both saying, look, because Bailey's, I think, has heard that some people are pinning on her. She expects some people would expect her to vote to keep Janelle. So she and Cody, and of course, Cody's afraid he's getting the blame as well. So they agree that they'll keep each other informed. If they hear anything about either one of them getting blamed, they'll come and tell that person. So they'll just watch out for each other. They finally get the HOH room upstairs. Enzo, he's only had 1 or 2 White Claws. I think by the end of the night, he may have had an extra 1 or 2, but he felt like he was already getting tipsy. He's planning to drink a White Claw every morning when he gets up. HOH week with Enzo may be kind of exciting, but he was doing that and having fun drinking his White Claws and such. All right, some other conversations. Enzo and Christmas are talking. Now, this was a good conversation. Enzo's really trying to establish some relationships. Christmas has been trying to work with as many people as possible. He tells Christmas, he says, hey, you're good this week. I want to work with you. You're safe. They are talking about the rogue vote again. He's wondering if the rogue vote was David, because he says, man, David is spinning out of control. I could see him doing that. Or maybe it was Kevin, because we know Kevin was tight with Janelle as well. But they say the same thing that Old Boss Hawk says. They don't really care that much. Not that big a deal. They are talking about, though, how well Ian is doing and that he's laying low. And Christmas makes a mention. This is something I've noticed as well. She says you can watch Ian and you can tell how nervous he is by how much he's rocking back and forth. I do think that may be a bit of a tell from Ian's standpoint. Not that he's lying or anything else, but when he's in a nervous situation, I do see him sometimes rocking a little more than other times. So, hey, something that people may notice and keep in mind going forward. But they're all saying that Ian's playing great. Yeah, he's laying low. He's not huge on anyone's target. Well, maybe a little bit, because his name certainly is continuing to come up, but we'll talk about that. All right, so speaking of Ian, little conversation between Ian and Nicole Franzel. Ian thinks David would be an easy choice because everyone is mad at him. And of course, Ian's going to try to promote some other people as targets, because I'm sure he knows that he's potentially on the radar for some people as well. So he's saying, man, David would be a perfect choice, Nicole. Later, Danny comes in and sits in with them. Ian is thinking as well that Kaiser is definitely one of the nominations. He's not sure who the other one will be, but he's thinking that the 3 of them, that's Ian, Nicole, and Danny, because we should be safe, guys. I don't think we're going to be in trouble this week. Well, we'll see. Again, Ian's name's been mentioned as a possible replacement, so Ian may be overestimating a little bit his security. So I don't know. We're going to find out tomorrow, aren't we? All right, another conversation. Ian back in talking to Cody. And Ian is saying, hey, Cody, just to let you know, Kaiser was quizzing me to see if you and Tyler are working together. Again, Ian's just making sure that Cody, because Cody's got some connections with Enzo, making sure that he knows that, that Kaiser's out there. Don't forget about Kaiser. Don't be looking at me. So he says, hey, just to let you know that they're asking if y'all are working together. He's also saying, hey, Kaiser, trust me. I can get info from him that I will certainly come back and tell you. So use me, and I can use my relationship to help you out. Cody mentions to Ian, says, hey, Janelle mentioned this alliance of Nicole and Danny and myself and Tyler. Thought we were in an alliance together. It's just because we're all sleeping in the same room together. That's why she thought that. Well, there's your alliance of the committee, along with Memphis and Christmas. But the other 4 members of the committee right there. But he's trying to discount, say, nah, it's just Janelle thinking things, so no big deal. All right, another conversation. Kazar and Danny are talking, and Kazar's telling Danny, saying, "Man, David would be a nightmare jury member. He is too emotional. He's coming unhinged." He said, "Every time I see David, he's talking in code." And Danny said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, he's talking in code, but he won't tell me what he's saying. He just talks in code." So again, Kazar's kind of feeding Danny the idea that you do not want David as a jury member. In other words, I'm not really the big target. You need to be looking at David, right? So he's starting his work early as well. Nicole has tried several times to crawl into the photo room to scare Cody. Yes, crawling into the room. The jokes, the memes, they're just writing themselves. So have fun, social media. That's all I'll say on that. But I thought it was funny watching her trying to crawl into the rooms. All right, another conversation. Bailey and Kaser. Bailey is saying that they really need to focus on keeping Kaser in the house this week. That's their primary focus. She's asking Kaser, say, who do you think might be on the block with you, assuming that you're going to go up? And Kaser responds, David. I think David could easily be on the block. Bailey's a little bit surprised. Remember, Bailey, even though Davon and David have kind of been having some issues, a little friction between the two of them, Bailey feels like she's a connection between two of those. She's got her connection with Davon. She's got a connection with David. Even though she's been a little frustrated with some of the things that has happened, she still wants to. She doesn't want to lose David. So she's a little surprised that Kazer's thinking David may be a target, but Kaser may be right. So yeah, Bailey is concerned about that. Another conversation. David and Kevin are talking this time, and David mentions, he says, "Yeah, I did my goodbye message to Janelle." He says, "It's kind of a mean message. Yeah, I was pretty mean to her. I laid it out to her." He says, "Now I'm kind of regretting it. It was in the spur of the moment. It was emotional and everything, but I left a kind of a mean goodbye message." Well, yeah, we have regrets, and I get that. It probably doesn't matter, because if someone's coming back into the house, they're not going to see those goodbye messages anyway. So no harm, no foul. If they're not coming back into the house, and they'll see them, and David may have to talk to Janelle a little when they get out of the house. But from a gameplay standpoint, it is what it is. But yeah, be nice, people. Be nice. All right, final conversation. Again, not a whole lot happening tonight, just because the feeds were down so long because of this HOH competition. I don't know how long it took to complete. I'm really curious to find that out. So a little bit. So the final conversation. Danny and Nicole are talking. Danny is complaining that Davon has broken her trust twice. Again, someone trying to put some other targets out there. She says, "Davon, yeah, twice she's broken my trust," and she's also warning Cody, or warning Nicole, saying, "Hey, Nicole, Cody has already told me that you trust Ian a lot more than I do," and so. Again, she's throwing Davon out there. She's throwing Ian out there as people that may be creating some issues for Nicole. So there you go with that. Danny responds, says, "Look, once or continues, says, once they get to jury, Nicole, these big dramatic or these big athletic guys, we got to get rid of them." She says, "Memphis needs to go first, but then Cody and Tyler need to go as well. They need to go so we can have our thing." And she says she's also worried that if they were to put up in the near future Kevin and Bailey ended up going home, that Davon's going to lose it. That she's not going to do well if Bailey is knocked out of the house, and they don't want that. They want to try to protect Davon, keep her within their group and protected and such. So she's not really wanting to see Bailey go home, and so there you have it, guys. All right. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Have a great Friday. I'll talk to y'all Saturday morning, I guess. SKD 143. Have a great one, guys. Cheers. Bye. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Yeah. Bye, guys.